This conference will now be recorded.
It's like, oh, hope it's not. It's not conjunctivitis.
Being
It's something to do with
ostensibly
my
6
contact.
p.m., we'll bring the Tilton Budget Committee of January 22nd to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If anyone doesn't object, we'll just open the public hearing now. Skip the minutes for later.
Open it up.
Okay, open the public hearing. Who would like to question the board? Anybody?
You'd like to talk to the board about?
Any?
Well, ask some questions. You
Yeah.
can learn stuff. that
Did
way.
you get to look at the budget that was?
I think Bill Trevor, I live on Sunrise Shores, so I'm one of the lucky homeowners that's assessments went through the roof, and I'm kind of just more here to learn how you guys spend the tax money. And probably not a question for this group, but I guess maybe you guys can help me again. Who do I talk to learn, what's the 5-year plan for Tilton? How is money allocated? I've got questions like, has the town looked at maybe raising commercial property tax rates before residential? I've got elderly neighbors that are fixed income that, are over $1,000 a month now in property taxes just because they live near Lake Winnisquam, and a little scared about the direction of Tilton where it's going. I don't think we're Meredith yet, but the property taxes are kind of heading us that way. So those are my major concerns. A lot this group might not be able to handle. I don't know if you guys just get a number and you got to make the numbers work, but a lot of concerns about property taxes. I live next door to that giant, beautiful resort.
Mhm.
I don't know. Are they paying their fair share? I don't
Not
know.
yet.
Not yet, but
They will.
hopefully sooner than later
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
the money they're spending out, it's probably going to require more police, more fire and all that. But, I don't know if this is the place to talk about, but I am curious how commercial property taxes bring in revenue versus residential. And
I think we're bound by the state to have auditor or appraisers come in, and they set the rate by comparing sales prices between business and residential. So lately, the residential prices are going through the roof. So that's why residential taxes are going way up and the commercials are going down. I mean, it's
so it has
just
nothing
the
to
way
do with
that
how
the-
much those places generate for revenue, like the outlets or.
And the advent of online shopping has hurt the
brick and
brick
mortar.
and mortar stores, so they're worthless.
Well, you look at what they're spending, that resort's got to be $100 million build.
Well,
That U-Haul storage monstrosity's got to be a few $1,000,000 build. Like,
It's coming up, but that's
Yeah.
not going to save us this year.
Yeah, that was just, they're new, so they'll be added to the tax rolls, next year?
It's
Yes.
whatever's there as of April 1st is
Yeah.
what's taxed for the year.
That's correct. Yep.
And there's another project going in down in Winnisquam
Mhm.
on the left-hand side down near the
that they cleared.
Is that
causeway.
housing?
Yeah, where it's cleared. There's something going there too. The guy hasn't given up on the cleared area over by the U-Haul. And it's not yet. And there's a couple of things going on that is going to help our tax base. But we are where we are. The advent of COVID meant that people in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and wherever decided they don't want to be in the big cities and right on top of each other. So they came up here and bid our properties right out from underneath us.
Well, let me ask. I can appreciate that it's the value of the land or the purchase, but can the town look at the rate for commercial property and say that should go up before residential rate should go up?
They charge so much per thousand.
There's only one rate, and that's per statute. That's the way our
The commercial
tax.
property rate is the same as residential.
That's correct. The difference is in the
Assessment.
the assessments of the properties, and assessments are based off of the market value and actual sales.
So the acreage is only going to be assessed based on what they bought it for.
No.
No.
No. It's
What it would
the
be, what it's
value.
worth.
It's
after
The
it's built.
value on April 1st. So, so it should be assessed at full value at that point. But there's only one rate for all property. And unfortunately, this last year, there was much more residential sales, and the residential sales leapfrogged by a large margin what the commercial appreciation did. So residential appreciation was much higher. And unfortunately, that's the type of taxation we have in New Hampshire, and it's done by state statute. We have neither the Board of Selectmen or Budget Committee or anyone else in town has any ability to change any of that.
But in theory, when the resort is assessed properly and that U-Haul storage and all these new businesses that are popping up, hopefully maybe residential property taxes will go down.
Yeah.
Because again, I've got neighbors that are going to have to sell, and everybody's like, well, you're near the lake, good for you. But it's like they can't afford a new mortgage on an overpriced house somewhere else. And
Well,
so I just worry that Tilton's kind of losing its residential charm and its residents that have been here a long time for all this, great development. But I don't know what the benefit is to me. That resort's going to be a nightmare for me to get out of my road, but that's not a question for here. But
Not just Tilton, it's everywhere
Yeah.
right now.
I know, but we live in Tilton, so I don't care about other towns. Again, you live in Meredith. Meredith's got a town docks and a town boat launch, and Tilton doesn't have a lot of that stuff. So it's not a knock on it. We're a small town, still under 4,000 people, but we're paying a lot in property taxes. And I know it's set by state, but is it not true that the state just tells you what the rate is based on the budget that you guys ask for?
Absolutely.
You set the budget, then the state says, here's what you can charge. So, the state's not really telling you what to spend. The state's telling you what you can charge for a rate based on how much you guys come up with to spend
And so
based on these numbers.
just to understand too, that the municipal portion is about 30% of the total tax rate. This last year, the fire district was up for Tilton 26.2%. The county was up some 21%. We were the largest increase in the county. And, those things really hurt us. The school was barely up between state and local school taxes. Those were almost flat for the year. And the town had a very modest increase. And the increase that the Budget Committee is looking at right now in the operating budget is 2.34%. So that's compared to many of our neighboring towns, that's actually really pretty good considering the costs that are associated with collective bargaining agreements and inflation in general. So, but it's just something, once you're in that mode of growth, when you do, what you will see is when that the lake house at Winnisquam comes online and U-Haul and any other developments, what those do is they add to our equalized value of the town. And as that number gets higher, it dilutes and lowers the rate for everybody. So
Hopefully, I know the new fire department, if that's built, that's going to have to be paid for and things like that. But
Good luck with that.
And
I think people are more worried about the future. Like, where's Tilton going in 3 years? Because if property taxes keep going up, I'm close to $1,000 a month in property taxes. I don't mind that. I don't have kids. I don't have kids in the school system. I understand paying for fire, police. But at a certain point, people aren't going to be able to afford, just property taxes,
Well,
let alone a mortgage on top of that. So
this has always been an issue. I mean,
not to this degree. I mean, people's property taxes have literally doubled. People were paying $600-700 a month. They're now paying $1,100 a month. That's
No, but I've
not
seen that
insignificant.
happening before in the past 50 years. There are times when all of a sudden there was a residential boom that would bring everybody's property taxes up. And then something would happen and they would drop. I mean, like there was a
Do they ever
residential
drop, though?
crash like in the 90s or
2008.
And I appreciate it's not just a Tilton thing; it's the entire state. But
And your original question is what we do here is we get the select board's suggestion, like they take last year's budget and they say, this is what was allocated last year. This is what was spent up until this point, each meeting. Tim updates, certain percentage has been spent that should be figured that it's going to hit 100% by the end of the year. This is what the select board suggests we do for this year. And then we take that budget for each department, and whether it's line item or piece by piece, the select board, the administrative section is town hall, and then the roads, and then the police department, and we go through each one. Downstairs in the lobby is a whiteboard with spots where you could sign your name to be part of the budget committee. And we welcome you to be here next year, because I would love to have more people who want to fight to get that number down. We were talking about this earlier, is we do need a great police force. We do need a great schools, but you got to pay for them. And being afraid of, not afraid of, but being concerned that U-Haul's coming and more residential's coming is not a bad thing. Those are more people to come and spread the cost of the police department and the school, because the schools aren't even in this budget. That's a separate budget.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Here you
But
s-
more
and
people
you use- you
means
use-
more police too, though, so.
Oh, yeah, and you use the example of Meredith. I have two friends that live, one of them right down the street from each other, right on Lake Winnisquam. One of them lives in Samberton, one of them lives in Meredith. He said, always look, if you're looking for a new house, look in Meredith, because it's a lot cheaper. You don't have kids. Their schools may not cost quite as much. They may not have as many services. You go to a place like Wolfboro, where a big part of the community is people with second homes. Maybe the schools aren't quite as strong, or maybe they don't get garbage pickup, or they don't get a lot of things. We could cut hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the budget by just not picking up garbage. But you got to have it, and we could cut, and that's what we do here. And we would appreciate more people, because that's what we were just joking. You got to sign up. You got to sign up, because at the end, there's just nobody filling the positions. And if you look at all the different committees within the town, this person's on 3 of these committees. This person's on 4, this person's on 2. I'm thinking of which other 2 they need help on. So we welcome you to come down and learn what we do
I will,
and
thank
help
you.
out.
We only deal with the town budget,
Right.
right? So we tell people that are new to town, go to your school district meetings, go to your fire district meetings, because those budgets are,
Well, I know the
always-
school district is the
we-
largest chunk of our taxes.
you need to come and go to all of the meetings that affect your tax rates, not just the town.
Absolutely. And I don't, I'm sure you guys do a great job again. And I don't know who is, I guess it's the select board meetings. Cause again, I have no idea what the vision of, I've heard people say that the master plan is not maybe current. I don't know. Like, where are we going to be in 5 years with all this growth? And I don't know if the growth is necessarily great, but
Thursday night, you want to go Thursday night
okay.
and talk to the board next week.
4:45 is when the meeting starts. Usually 5:15, you could ask questions or make statements or what have you.
Okay.
Are you from the Lockmere area? Do you have Lockmere water?
No, I'm on a well.
Darn
It's
it.
too bad, because we need a member from the Lockmere district.
Yeah, no, we're on wells where I am.
And you can look at old videos of meetings. I mean, it drones on a bit, but you can see that we try to.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just quickly looked at this. I think it looks like you guys do a good job.
Yep.
And I know this might not be the forum,
We're
but
all residents,
sure.
and we all pay the same property tax. You know what I mean?
Right,
And I live on Silver Lake, so ta-da!
right.
A lot more tax money there than I'd
And
like
Bill,
to pay.
Bill, I'm in Lakewood, so I'm the street over, so I know
Right.
exactly.
One last question. So you had mentioned so how often do we get our properties reassessed? Is it every 5 years?
5 years.
So what
The
happens?
full
So,
reval is 5 years, but they do pickups and they keep up.
so when
on
that
it
resort
for the
opens, they
5
will
years.
get dinged. They don't have to wait 5 years.
They
for
have-
Oh,
that.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. They'll
They're
just-
supposed to be opening in April. So hopefully,
Sure.
I know they bought that land cheap, so I'm sure they weren't paying squat until they.
Whatever's there April 1st is what's taxable.
I know they waited to actually started doing work until after April 1st. So I know they played that game, and that's fine. But
Wouldn't be assessed anyway until April 1st.
right.
And
Yeah.
anybody that puts in permits or anything, those houses get looked at right away as well. So.
For
Okay.
update.
Again, I don't fault anybody here or in the town. It's just I
And
know
towns
everybody's
are set
feeling
up
it,
by
but-
mill rate. The mill rate is every X thousands of dollars your property is worth. That's how much you pay.
Right. One last question. Has it ever been brought up like they do in Florida to have something like a Homestead Act
That's a state level thing.
that can't be done by town?
No.
Okay. That's where it would be like primary residences are taxed less than secondary homeowners.
Yeah, I have people in Florida, and I think the Homestead Act is $50,000 right off the top, but you still pay property tax.
There is an issue again, not to drone on, but they just reassessed us and I don't think I could sell my house for what that company said it's worth. But I know that's not your problem, but it's just a
No,
little
I mean,
insane.
I think it's an anomaly, the way that the residentials, and this is across the nation. I mean, there's a huge housing shortage, and that was the last administration was trying to funnel money into all the communities to build a low and moderate housing, but that takes like 5 years to get the permits, and so it's really it's hurting people who need places to live because a lot of people put their other homes into a B&B.
Right.
They rent them out for money, and people can't live there. I mean,
There's
you know,
people on my end, yeah, the south end of Winnisquam are renting their places in July for
Sure.
$3,800 a week,
business. Yeah.
$5,000 a week.
yeah, right.
Eesh.
And don't feel bad about asking. This is
No, I
why
appreciate
we
it.
have
Thank
it.
you.
And as a matter of fact, this could be the video that other citizens can watch and say, "Oh, they have answers to
this
those
is a good idea.
questions." Yeah, no, I
But you
appreciate
can look back at the tapes from all of our meetings and you can watch us haggling over $300 or $500.
Appreciate that. Again,
You know,
I
hey,
took-
let's cut it 300. Let's cut the
Right.
300 and let's do this. So we do haggle and we do cut.
no, I have no doubt. And thank you. This has been a good education for
But
me.
one of
I'll
the-
look at the board on my way out.
Yeah. Another issue is development creates huge infrastructure costs. I mean, I was on the planning board when Extra 20 started, and we were also happy. He said, wow, this is going to really reduce our taxes. But the consultant said, you know, down the road, this is going to cost you a lot in fire, police, all the
Services.
infrastructure costs. And that's the chief. Yeah. I mean, they 24 hours because we have a very big commercial district now. We did try to contain it around 93, but it's spreading out.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank
thank
you.
you. There's someone online that would like to speak? Please identify yourself.
Yes, hi, it's Greg DeVolder, 161
Greg.
School Street. Hello there, Bill. I had a question regarding the Pines. If I am reading the document correctly, it looks like the Budget Committee is recommending fully funding 75,000. I apologize, I did not catch your budget meeting when you were discussing that, but I did catch the Selectmen's meeting where they dropped it by, I think, 35,000. And last year, I recall this discussion going around the Pines as well. And I think there was concern with the Budget Committee at that point in time that that Pines hadn't been notified that there could be a decrease and you wanted to fully fund it for that reason. But suggestions were made that maybe we'd send a letter and notification for the following year that there would be a reduction in the Pines, considering roughly 30% of the people using it from Tilton versus Northfield. So I just wanted to see if I was reading that correctly.
Yeah, we did send a letter out to both the Hall Memorial Library and the Pines saying that we were looking at the inequities between use. I personally feel like both of those are services that we should pay. I know some of the boards don't agree with me, and they'd be willing, you know, if you want to speak up with that, that's fine. Joe?
I understand that because it's a service, you could make an argument that we should pay only a per visitor amount as opposed to 50%. Without the money from both of the towns, the programs at the Pines would suffer significantly. I can't speak to the exact programs that would be cut, curtailed, the people who may or may not have jobs anymore. And I worry significantly about the children that use that service. If the Pines doesn't exist, that creates other problems. And there's not a lot of things for teenagers to do or middle school students to do. And the Pines provides for that. So it's $30,000, but I personally am in favor of it.
It says you're a selectman, so you know why they had cut that?
Yeah. what I explained at the beginning, because we only have 30 some odd percent of the people who sign the book. And so the long and the short of it, and I even brought it up, I mean, in the interest of all, disclosure and fairness, like we pay a lot more than Northfield does on a per registrant basis. I think the Pines is important, and it's important to save the Pines. So that's where my vote came
Yeah.
from.
And, Tilton actually has less people, less children than Northfield. And so even the Hall Memorial Library, we have probably, I don't know, 20% less card carriers there than Northfield. So if people want to cut the Pines, then I think we should cut the library too in the same basis. But personally, I just think that they're both important resources that we should fund, and especially the Pines. I mean, we're only funding 22% of their budget because they do a lot of fundraising. So that's my thought.
There's one other thing that I think should be brought up is Northfield owns the building and the grounds. So they provide all the services to the building.
At the library.
Huh?
At the library.
At the Pines.
At the
Like
Pines.
the
Oh,
plowing.
The
and
library is a separate kind of island unto
Yeah.
itself, sort of. Although Northfield does plow the parking lot, they're over
They
there
do.
anyway.
They do.
So thank you very much for Northfield. But Northfield, furnace goes out. It's Northfield's furnace. It's not Tilton's. Our money goes to programming.
Programs.
And this is a great second question for this meeting, in that the first question is, how could we cut? Where could we cut? How can we make it cheaper? Libraries are places. $30,000 is a lot of money that we could be able to do. And that's the thing that I try and bring to this group is with this town, if we could try and find ways to represent the people and say, we could possibly cut here, we could possibly cut there. And whenever, if we cut the Pines to a certain amount, the last town meeting, the library group got a group of citizens to come to town meeting, and there were enough people there to vote to get their right back up again. So it's a great, that's the conundrum that we have, is where can we say, you have to have a solid police force, you have to have solid schools, you have to have solid roads at as cheaply as possible, as budget, as value as possible. Where could you save the money? And unfortunately, it's the cultural type of things of, everybody's got Google in their pocket right now. Do we really need a library? Well, are we going to cut thousands? This is something that's been around for 100 years, that has people's, salaries, and, where could we cut that in half? What do? Do you just close down the library to save money? The next thing coming up soon is going to be the island and the bridge to the island. What's next? And it's cultural, and it's the conundrum of going through, where could we cut? How could we cut and not lose too much cultural advantage of the town? So it was a great second question. The first and second questions are what we argue about every Wednesday.
So the
couple
answer
of
to
months.
Greg is, we had a very animated conversation, and we voted, and we decided to fund them at their total request.
Is there someone else online or more comments?
Bill, could I follow up, please?
Sure. Yes, Greg.
It was mentioned, and I haven't heard anything more about this in the Selectmen's meeting, that Northfield did not make their full contribution to the Pines within 2024. Have you heard anything about that?
I don't know anything about that.
I don't
But it would
recall
just strike.
that being fact.
I thought they did the whole thing.
We don't know.
Yeah, it struck me as odd that came up in the Selectmen's meeting.
Actually, Greg, I believe you're right.
We don't know.
I believe they didn't make one of the payments. At least at that point, they hadn't made it. I don't know if they made it before the end of the year or not.
I just think, in these times when you have people coming in and talking about taxation and what's going on in town, even a $5,000 would show that we care. I get the Pines and what they're trying to do, but the fact is, a lot more people in Northfield use it than Tilton. And here would have been an easy place to show that, yeah, $5,000 here it's not going to put the Pines out of business. That's just my thought. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. I know it's a thankless job. And I thank you for doing what you're doing. It's just the Pines has come up every year since I've been going to selectmen's meetings, it seems. And every year the budget committee, which is fine, has voted to fully fund them. It just seems like we're getting into times that are getting really tough for a lot of people. And wherever you can save a couple of dollars here and there, to me, would make a difference. But thank you.
I would say that
Thank you for
you
thanking
should
us.
come to the town meeting. You can adjust, the people at town meeting can adjust any one of those lines any way they see fit. And the town meeting is a wonderful thing because, okay, we say, yeah, the Pines, this and that and this and that. And then a bunch of people come and say, I've never sent anybody to the Pines and I'm paying for it and dun, dun, dun. And I could see the arguments coming up now. And then it comes to a vote and the town votes which direction they want to go. So by all means, come on down. You could change the budget.
Anybody else online there? Or? How about you gentlemen out? Would you have anything you want to talk about?
Administrative salary?
Change.
We're trying to cut that next.
And I was kind of going over, I think out of our budget, like 60% is related to wages. Basically, of our budget, 60% of that is wage related.
Yeah, it's very typical in
Yeah.
in a town, school, fire.
Sure.
Usually it's in the low 60s.
Yeah.
Between payroll, benefits, and all the things, education or uniforms or all the other things that go along with it. Insurance.
We make people bring their own
Retirement.
pencils and
Retirement, yep.
pens and paper. Okay, so
For people to ask me questions. This gentleman here, and then also Greg's usually on, and I know everybody here is. I live in Franklin, but I'm here as the chief. What kind of bothers me is the participation that I see in the town sometimes. There's more people need to be at these town meetings. More people need to be involved in the community. If you want to say something or you want to be heard, you got to show up to these things. That's just the plain and simple. People want to complain about how we're spending our budget or what we're doing, but you need to be involved in the community. You need to be involved how that money is spent. And if you're not here and you're not being a voice, gentleman spoke for a little while, very impactful, and the things that he said, and we need more of that. And I believe, I think the town just, people that are listening and don't have time or they watch the videos after. I try to look at the counter on YouTube and things like that, but it's just not enough. So that's pretty much, I come here, I want to be asked questions.
I have a question.
Oh, fire away.
We have a line in your budget under wages that includes an extra patrolman and a detective.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether we really need to fund those lines. You have we've been funding them right along, and we end up with that money left over at the end, which buys a police car or whatever, and we don't have to raise the money that way. But again, I don't want to raise any money that we don't need to.
I mean, I agree. And what's that? No.
Aren't those the lines that we aren't funding until March because of that
That's
reason?
correct.
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct. So
They were taken out for January and February.
Right.
The anticipated start date is March.
There's still 10 months of stuff in there, like $150,000 between insurance and retirement and wages and all of those kind of things. If we're not going to hire those people That's a good place to save $150,000.
Well, the thing is with that is we are going to hire, and we do have that there. It's not extra money. And we've done the 2 backgrounds. One fell through after 2 months of hard work. I mean, those countless hours. You're looking at least 60 to 70 plus hours that a detective has to do for a background. The thing is like the gentleman spoke earlier, is we have all these businesses that are being approved and they're being built. I mean, who's going to go to the calls to take care of that stuff? You know what I mean? I'm a working chief. I work. We had that 8th officer. I've been the chief. It'll be 3 years this August. We have not been full staff since we left the police department just up the street. We've been down and out. And I talked about this last year when I was challenged about cutting a position. I don't think you want to cut first responders. I really don't. I mean, as much as it's so easy to say, well, they're not hiring right now, and so let's just cut them out. Well, if somebody comes to me today or tomorrow or next week and says, hey, I want a job. Well, sorry, I don't have any money. Go to the next town over. I mean, we're not getting a lot of people that are applying for the job. So it wasn't like back in the day you put an application in, and Scott could probably talk about this. You put an application, you show up to the PT test, there's another maybe 100, 150 guys and girls there that are going to give you your run for your money. If you go to all our Facebook posts, I've posted for the last 3 to 4 years to hire. They're not coming in. When they come in, when I get an application, I'm getting an interview that day, and I have to sell them something or talk it up so they won't leave to go to another police department for more money. So that being said, I mean, I think that's the last thing we want to do is cut any of the positions, especially in patrol. We just there's talk about all this housing and people come in. Well, who's going to go to those calls? Who's going to handle those? I really don't know. So we're doing our best we possibly can with a lot of the detail cars. Our last car we bought with a detail fund. This car that we're going to buy this year's detail, I bought 2 used, and not that it's the best deal in the world or the best option is to use admin cars because I didn't think we needed brand new vehicles. So, you know, we just put in for grant money for MDTs. MDTs are $45,000. They're able to get 100% grant through the state to get that. We just did a grant. We're going to be doing a grant soon for, to do some overtime to be able to do highway safety grant is what it is. So it's, all of your seatbelt laws and your speed.
You did the body worn cameras.
Body worn cameras. Yeah, we were able to get some grant money for the state body worn cameras to take that money off. So probably in just that stuff alone is almost $100,000 that I'm trying. So anything we can to try to save money, I do. And every year we get to what about funding an officer? And it's like, well, let's cut an officer. But that's the last thing we want to do.
Well, the other thing is that by town meeting, especially that Saturday town meeting, you'll know whether the hires occurred and whatever status or time frame, if there needs to be any adjustment done at town meeting.
Right.
So you'll have that opportunity.
So I guess, more education for me, just curious again, with the growth of Tilton, do you base your numbers on the population or the number of people flowing through the town? Again, this resort could potentially add like 300-400 people. There's going to be domestic violence calls. There's going to be B&Es. There's going to be stolen stuff. You guys did a great job chasing that guy from Franklin through my yard a week or 2 ago. Guns drawn and canines running down Lakewood. That was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I guess I'm just wondering what those numbers are based on,
So if you chimed in last year and you can watch the minutes, I spoke a lot about impact fees. And the reason why I spoke about impact fees, you talked about Walmart. But some of the statistics that we had with vehicles coming through the area is between 30 to 50,000 vehicles daily that come through Tilton. How are you able to stop that many vehicles? I mean, how are you able to even deal with that? But a lot of the problems I had was, and I spoke about, was these big box stores that are using the police department as a service. And we are putting all our time into these stores, and then so the taxpayers are paying for that. Walmart, again, is assessed. It's what they pay for taxes, what they're building. MB Tractor, maybe the same footprint. I'm not quite sure. We go to MB Tractor 3 times a year. We go to Walmart. We just did the numbers. It was roughly 600 times we went to the Walmart. 600, that's twice a day we go to Walmart. And if there's an arrest, that's 2 hours each time we do an arrest. It's about 2 hours long. And that's not including the paperwork and the court time and everything else. So you kind of have to remember with the math, it's just a lot of our time is with businesses. So the residents in the community, they suffer on that. So that would be my plan, is to figure something out. But again, at a state level, kind of your hands are tied with that stuff. That's what I've been told. So
Like originally Tanger, I think, was supposed to have their own security detail, and that went away real quick.
They have the
Security, they
vehicle
just
and-
drive around.
Oh, yeah, yeah, right, yeah.
You can't
Right.
park there.
But
Don't
they
park
don't
there.
have any
No
kind of
parking.
yeah.
That's it. No
But that,
parking. You can't park there.
yeah, I
That's
joke,
always-
if we could just put a toll booth on this road and get a 10 cents, we'd be able to pay our taxes, I mean, yeah. But that's, I guess we can't do that.
And as you're talking to your neighbors, I joked about it, but I wasn't joking with the whiteboard downstairs and the position. So as you're talking to your neighbors, you're talking to other people, let's get people more involved, just like the chief said.
Everywhere.
Yeah, we have 2 positions open.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't know who else is signing up.
Just
but
as a for instance, but there's a whole
a whole
list.
bunch. There's
There's
a whole list.
two,
Yep.
two slots for selectmen.
That's how I got here. Is my vehicle, my birthday's in February, so I come to register my truck, and said, "What's the whiteboard for?" And so if you are interested, come during the day, talk to the town clerk. They'll explain it all, what the positions are, what it takes. You fill out a form that says and if no one else signs up next to you, guess what? You're
Yeah,
gonna win.
see what interests you.
know?
And then you
Yeah.
can always, Tim is a good resource too, or Scott as the town administrator.
Yep.
But see if something like piques your interest.
Mhm.
Because if you're going to spend many nights here, it might as well be something you enjoy.
And I came from the corporate world where, you get a message from headquarters that, oh, by the way, everybody's got to cut 5% spending, or next year you got to cut 10% spending. And we got these 3 projects going on. So how are you going to do it? Would you want to do that with the police department? What would be the question? I wouldn't want to stick you, in this setting to say, how would the police chief cut 5%? How's it going to get cut? Personnel. Almost always personnel, because it's the easiest way to cut a big chunk of money. Now, do we want to have less people plowing? Do we want, because that's what personally I look for here in trying to fund the departments are the roads, the police, and the schools. It's great to have a library. It's great to have the Pines. It's great to have statues and art, and it's great to have the island. But yeah, at what point does,
Anyway,
and that's all we are doing is giving our opinion on it as people who have looked at the numbers. And in the end, it all goes to town meeting anyway.
Residents make the decision.
One last thing, it does seem like we do need to figure out again, exit 20, sorry, so many more people coming through again, like it just, and the property owners are the ones footing the bill. Like the chief said, we're paying for police that are going to, yeah, I've been, go drive by Walmart and it seems like the whole Tilton Police Department's there chasing a guy out of the parking lot onto Route 3, and then some old lady gets hurt somewhere and there's nobody to respond. So, and again, where's this town going to be in 2 years when that resort is fully open and another development's under construction and the U-Haul building is open and everything else? So I can only imagine, you're going to need more resources, which I understand. I can understand the dilemma cutting that, but it's all falling on the property tax owners 100%. And I don't think that's sustainable. I understand you're doing this right now, but my concern is in 5 years, am I paying $1,500 a month in property taxes? That's more than my mortgage. So
And
thank
that's
you.
a revenue issue, really. And, you might want to go to the state level and say,
I just don't understand why
some
the
kind of other
commercial, why
tax
Tanger
structure,
can't pay more. I don't understand that. Like that's $1 million
State
company.
says
And
everybody pays. Let's say the rate is $5. It's not, but let's just say Tanger pays the same $5 that you and I do per 1,000. If Tanger is worth 15 million bucks, they have $5 a 1,000 into 15 million. So they pay, tens of thousands of dollars for theirs.
but they require that much more police resources and
Sure.
they're not paying their fair share for sure. That's what I'm worried about this resort. Again, it's I don't know what the benefit is to Tilton, honestly. I think it's going to require more resources than it's going to pay in tax revenue.
We have a premise and a concept here in this state that when you own the land, you can do with it as you may, within the scope of the zoning and the regulations, planning, and what have you. They bought that property. They went through the planning. They had this whole. I don't know if you went to any of those.
You know, I went to every one of them
There
as
you
an
go.
abutter. No, I understand.
Okay, well then you get it.
I do.
You
I,
get
you know,
it.
like the chief was saying, maybe it's impact fees because again, the impact on this town
Mhm.
is coming from people that don't live in this town, have no skin in the game in this town, the businesses and the visitors that flood Tilton, like that traffic, those traffic numbers are insane. Again, I live off of Route 3. Infrastructure, they're not, I understand they bought the land. They that was like $5 million for 37 acres with 3,000 foot of shoreline. That's a steal. And
Yeah.
I understand the state sets a rate and all that, but I don't understand why the town can't say that's fine. That's what your taxes are, but the impact on the town from the resources you're sucking up.
They can.
Well, I guess that's where I want to find out. Where do we talk about
Planning
that?
board.
Okay,
You
thank
want
you.
to go to the planning board because they are the ones that do the master plan. And there is a master plan, although I don't know it's completely updated.
Are there
And
openings on the planning board? I think there are.
All right.
I
At
think
least
there are
alternates.
as well.
Lots.
And there's a whole process to update the master plan. And once the master plan is updated, we can start imposing impact fees. You know what I mean? I'm not sure the exact process of that, but I know we can.
I mean, I would assume with this resort opening with that traffic nightmare, there's been like 2 major head-on collisions before it's open. Taking a left out of there, people are crossing 2 lanes of traffic. No, people are going 60 miles an hour. The police will be there every day.
There'll be a turn.
So-
There'll be 2 separate turn lanes. Department of Transportation has come up
I have
with
no
a
faith in
plan
that, but
that probably won't work worth it.
it won't work at all.
Not in July. Not
I was
during
surprised
bike-
they actually didn't, they widened the road and still put a double yellow down the middle. So good luck taking a left from Mosquito Bridge into there and coming out of there. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah,
Maybe
thank
I'll
you.
sign up for the planning.
That'll keep you busy.
I
Okay,
think this
should
was
we-
a good exercise.
Yeah, no,
and
that's great.
anybody
Yeah.
watching this
Yeah.
later on online will have a much better understanding, perhaps, because property taxes and the town budget is like magic to some people. They have no clue. All the things you didn't know that now you know, and there's lots more you don't know. But
Well,
it's a
should,
matter of being involved.
should we move on to the warrant articles?
I think
We
that's
need to
a
go
great
yay,
idea.
yay or nay on those.
Public hearing, Bill?
Pardon me?
You have to close the public hearing, or is this part of it?
No, this is part of it.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know if you closed it for comments and then went on.
That's the planning board.
Well, we could still
You-
have
you
comments.
Do you? You
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so to
Excuse me,
2025.
Bill, but I have my hand up here. I'm not sure you can see it.
Oh, I can't see it,
No, I don't see a hand.
but go ahead.
Your finger.
I just had one other question, and it was with regard to the youth service assistance. It looked
Uh-huh.
like that had jumped up a fair amount, like 20 grand or so. Did they lose funding or something?
They lost
For
a
the-
grant that they were getting
Okay.
for like
If they
15,000,
get it back, they will.
but they might get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then they'll adjust it.
They'll adjust.
yeah.
Okay. And with those funds, if they do get the grant, what happens to those funds then? Does that go to the general
It
account? or
reduce- It
something?
reduces their overall budget.
But yes, it'll go into the.
Goes
into
to
the
Yeah,
general.
you're right, right.
The funds go to the general account?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's it for me for tonight. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Greg. We're looking forward to your next article.
I don't, you'll be looking for a long time.
All right, so Article 3, operating budget. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the Budget Committee recommended sum of $7,099,448 for general municipal operations. The recommended amounts do not include special or individual warrant articles addressed separately. This article is recommended by the Selectmen and is recommended by the Budget Committee. So we did already recommend that when we voted yes.
That's our number.
As did the select.
Yeah,
We
okay.
came up with slightly different numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just note if I could, so in the state's format, we have rounding to more decimal places in ours, and so theirs came up to 448, whereas if you look in the front cover, it shows 449.
Okay.
So so we rounded down. We had to round down in the state's format.
Okay. So we're all set with that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Article 4 is repair and reconstruction of Academy Street and retaining wall. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $450,000 gross budget for the purpose of reconstructing Academy Street and the retaining wall, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $450,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon. This article is recommended by the Selectmen, and we have to vote on that. Yep. Anybody want to make a motion?
I just have a question. How come this doesn't fall under roads and bridges and sidewalks?
Well, it could. However, there's not enough money in the roads, bridges, sidewalks for this particular project. So the board had opted to put this on the warrant as a separate note. The rate would be, an estimated rate is right around 5% for tax exempt municipality. And I would think we'd either be at 5 or a little bit lower, but that roughly runs for a 10-year note about $50,000 a year.
Joe, do you have?
Questions or anything?
Do I have a question? No.
Oh, did you have some
was
you want
getting
some
ready to
input from the
motion, I
Selectmen?
Yeah. I will say for those who might not know about Academy Street, that it's the road that goes right here from School Street over behind the fire department and where the water company sits up the way. There's a large retaining wall on one side of it that has started to give way. And we've had rocks, big rocks, like, oh my God, rock, come out of that wall and stop within 6 inches of the water company's building. The wall continues to deteriorate. We shut it through traffic because there was big trucks and whatever going on there. And we've had a ground penetrating radar survey that indicate voids underneath the road surface. So the road has to come back, the wall has to come out and then be replaced and then build the road back up again.
Is that on the school's land?
No, not Academy Street. That's,
No, but like what, the retaining wall itself?
no.
No.
If anything, it's right up against the water company's land because it's on that side.
Yeah, part of it is
Okay.
on the water company's land.
If
Their insurance
we had a
company.
conversation whereby, all right, do we really need Academy Street? What does that do? Well, the only way to circumvent downtown is either try to make a left over the Cannon Bridge or go all the way up the hill and go through the campus of Tilton School. The road at the top of the hill is not built for that kind of action, and diverting all that traffic up there causes problems up there. Because of the confusing nature of the statues and the rotary roadway and whatever out in front, trying to divert everybody onto Cannon Bridge is a problem as well. So even if we didn't do Academy Street, we still have to fix the wall. because the wall is crumbling. And there's a building right there at the base of that wall that if the wall collapses and destroys the building, we have to fix the building, and we still have to do something about the rest of the retaining wall. So we have to do something. Even if we don't open up, and maybe Academy Street becomes one way and it's got extra parking or something down on the far end. I don't know. But we have to do something about the retaining wall. And this is the cheapest that I've seen.
Oh, I make a motion that we approve Article 4.
Second,
I will second.
any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
All right, on to Article 5, which is roads, bridges, sidewalks, capital reserve fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $120,000 to be added to the town roads, bridges, and sidewalks capital reserve fund. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. This article is recommended by the Selectmen. And
Is this the same amount as last year?
No, this is $30,000 more.
Bill?
yes,
Shane, what is your plans for roads, bridges, and sidewalks for the coming year? Why do you need that extra money?
We want to finish doing all the streets in line over here. You know, like Maple Court, Poplar, High Extension, Daniel, West, and the rest of Chestnut.
And we can do that with what we're raising and what we have in that account now?
I hope so.
yes, so we have a
I have
balance.
to. Yeah, I'm waiting
I
for.
need more than hope.
Yeah, I'm waiting for some numbers
So
so that we can get a.
is this a reserve or is this a plan?
It's a
Because I
plan.
was going to say to the people looking on and anybody watching videos, the next few things we'll be discussing are capital reserve funds where you reserve money aside for trucks or you reserve money aside for, is this?
That's pretty
One-
much
That's-
all
that
these,
is
That's what
all
these
these
are.
warrant articles are
Yeah.
capital reserve funds.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
But
we're,
is
we're
this-
trying to build them up.
And there's $116,000 in the fund
Right, we
currently.
have.
Yeah.
So there'll be 236,000 if this were to pass at town meeting.
Correct.
This is a normal process that the towns do, is they raise the set amount of money
Mhm.
for capital reserve funds so that they can
Instead
fund.
of all of a
It's being-
sudden.
Instead of all of a sudden.
$1 million.
It's being proactive.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's non-lapsing.
It's a way to
so-
save the money and move forward on projects.
What I'm saying is how much of this 120 do you plan on using this year for all these projects you were talking
In
about?
24.
As much as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
going to be 236 altogether. So, I mean, that doesn't go very far,
No, not when you're paving.
right?
Yeah.
And it's partly a matter of time too, getting those guys to come out and mobilize and replane, remill, dig them up, put them down, repave them. It takes time.
Yeah.
And so these companies, paving companies, are already starting to line up their summer.
So you're hiring a company because we don't really have that resources to do that, right? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have the equipment to do any of that.
and you
And-
can't
and-
rent it and just do it yourself. I'm just kidding.
And that's why a lot of
It'd be a
towns,
fun experience.
that's why a lot of towns do the same roads in the same area, because you can get them to come in and do everything in one shot.
time.
So you're not spread out all over town. So you
If
kind
they
of do
have
them
to
in,
keep coming back,
Right,
that's
right,
extra money.
right, exactly.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve warrant article number 5.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, on to Article 6, Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. The article is recommended by the Selectmen. And so we've got 62,000 in there now, and there's probably some kind of vehicle that needs to be replaced, or?
Yeah, right now we want to replace the 99 International six-wheeler.
The 1999.
How much is it?
New one. Latest quote I had was, I believe, 165,000, all built and ready to go.
My understanding is that there are grants that come out of a diesel fund, and I'm a little fuzzy on it,
Volkswagen
but
fund?
it might be available, some monies to us to help defray the cost of that vehicle.
Mr. Chairman, I can answer that if you'd like.
Certainly.
There are two grants existing, and Joe is a selectman, so I explained this to Joe, the board last week. The diesel grant program, which the town of Belmont got a brand new highway truck, all equipped, roughly, as Shane said, $165,000, $170,000, was part of the VW diesel award back many years ago, where for whatever reason the federal government fined them, and that was part of the program. That program has dried up temporarily. There is another program, which is a state-run DOT program, which funds 25% of the replacement cost of a truck. So if even at worst case scenario is if we had $120,000 in there and we could get an additional 25% from the state, that might help us do that. But the person that I spoke to made it clear that the VW program was very popular. And if this man I spoke to at DOT, if his wish were to come, that he'd like to see that come back. So there is a possibility that it will come back, but until then, it's not open.
And we're also anticipating a $25,000 trade-in on our existing vehicle.
Okay, great.
So we're looking at 140,000. So we'd be looking at 2026 for the replacement of that.
Scott, was there a funding amount set for that settlement?
No, there was not. So Belmont actually put in for 2 trucks, fully equipped. They got one because of the way they spread out the grant. But there was no amount. The diesel program, and funds it 100%.
So if you don't get the grant this year, you'll just hold on to it and buy it in 26? Keep the money in the capital reserve?
Yes.
That's probably a diesel tax that funds that, or?
It's actually part of the green program that the last administration provided, and as a condition of the VW grant, you must literally disable the engine. You must replace a diesel engine, and you must disable the 1999. I said that clearly. I think everybody understood. 99, we're not even in the 20th century.
Right.
But you must disable those inefficient diesel engines, and we did agree to that. If we are lucky enough to get come back and get a grant.
And we don't get any money for the old vehicle anymore.
That's correct. You don't. It's salvage. It's
Yeah.
sent to the boneyard.
The WRBP got a vehicle the same way. My question is, and this is the same question, like the highway equipment capital reserve is in case of emergency, a vehicle breaks down, something needs, wouldn't that be a warrant article for the purchase of a new vehicle at $120,000, $140,000?
It's not for emergencies. It's a way to save money in anticipation of a purchase. It's not for emergencies.
But yeah, it's a way to offset a big chunk,
A big
a
purchase,
surprise big chunk.
not a surprise.
Well, we know it's coming.
planning.
It's coming.
Yeah,
You,
everything
you
we're-
plan it. It's
It
like
just seems to me like it should be written as for the purchase of a vehicle.
Well, we
It
do
is.
have a 10-year plan, and we have all the public works vehicles listed out, and their equipment listed, their major equipment
CIP plan.
listed out. And it goes out through the 10 years, and it shows a level $60,000 a year, being able to fund that. And it's on the website under Public Works, and you can see the 10-year plan and how that factors out. Right now, the plan shows 140,000 would come from the capital reserve fund by 26, and that there'd be a trade-in of 25,000. But if there were a 25% offset through a grant fund of some kind, obviously that would be more valuable than the trade-in, and we'd be able to probably acquire that earlier.
And then those funds would just stay in the capital reserve fund for future use.
Right.
You should check out the CIP. It's pretty interesting.
No, it just seems like, we plan on using it. Just tell the town, this is what we're using it for.
That's what the
We have
CIP plan does.
1999 vehicle,
Yep.
25-year-old truck that needs to be replaced.
Yep.
It really does too.
That's what-
I've
that's
seen
what
No,
it.
but you know what I'm saying? That it just wording, and we plan on using it, and we need it. We need
Oh,
it
yeah.
now. That's why, that's why it seems to me like it should be written in that way.
It's all in the plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll move we support Article 6.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
nay?
Nay.
One nay, okay. Okay, off to Article 7, the revaluation capital reserve fund, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,428 to be added to the revaluation capital reserve fund established in 2002. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. The article is recommended by the selectmen. So again, it's just, every 5 years.
So,
So we put money in there.
so to help clarify this, the town enters into a contract with the appraisal firm, which is still Avatar, I think, right? And
Correct.
so they tell us what it's going to cost for the 5-year contract, and then we put a set amount into here every year to raise it to pay for the contract.
Yep.
They
Correct.
also
Correct.
provide the tax cards and whatever for you go online and you want to see your
Mhm.
tax
Yep.
card and see what the appraisals are and the assessments and the
And they do
tax rate.
pickups and
They maintain those, and I
Yep.
think they help with the GIS mapping. Is that what it is?
There's certain things that they do. We actually provide the tax cards ourselves, but they provide support for any challenges. They provide ongoing pickups. They do the drawings on the tax cards. They review all the lot line adjustments and parcel changes, subdivisions, things of that sort. So there's a lot of additional things that they do, but the update contract, which is what this particular capital reserve is setting money aside for, is estimated to be $96,732 in 2029. So that could change, but that's what this 18,000 is based on.
I motion that we approve Article 7.
Second? I'll second it, okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, Article 8, Building Infrastructure Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be added to the town buildings infrastructure capital reserve fund previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. The article is recommended by the selectmen. Yeah, and that was, so right now we've got 40,000 in there. And that's basically the town hall, et cetera. We know they're going to need work.
Roofs, major systems,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And the town hall roof has had an issue for a couple of years that we've been band-aiding.
Yeah.
But it's designed to provide for major systems and to set money aside for when the PD, now 4 years old, is going to need, various things down the road, we're trying to make sure we set aside a certain amount of money every year to account for these items. It's a very big roof.
Yeah.
You better get more than 4 years out of your roof. You better.
Every 30 years.
Big blue tarps.
From Walmart.
Right. Okay. Is there a motion?
Come on, somebody.
Sure. I make a motion to support Article number 8.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. You do.
I'll second.
John seconds. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Okay. All right. Article 9, the Island Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be added to the Tilton Island Preservation and Improvements Capital Reserve Fund previously established. The appropriation is not included in the operating budget. The article is recommended by the Selectmen. And that currently we have 100,000 in there. And this is, maybe you want to talk a little bit to that.
Sure. So the plan for this capital reserve, it was repurposed in 23 to incorporate anything to do with the island. So the bridge, the island, the water flow, that sort of thing. And pardon me, with the $500,000 congressional grant that we've been approved for, but have not yet received, this added to that would give us over 600,000. We have another $75,000 that was specific to bridge improvements by the state. So it gives us about 675,000. The current proposal from the vendor that the Board of Selectmen approved is 530,000, but we know there's going to be additional costs, engineering costs over and above that we're anticipating. So we believe we have enough money between the grant, the capital reserve, and the state's bridge money to be able to accomplish that, the bridge, repairing and replacing the bridge. The additional monies would be used, specifically the board wants to make sure that erosion is mitigated, that the blocks are put back in place around the front of the island so that the island is preserved. So that's essentially the plan.
Okay, thank you.
I motion that we approve Article 9.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
2 nays. 4 to 2, okay. Article 10, Milfoil Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to the Lake Improvement / Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. The article is recommended by the Selectmen and Budget Committee. Currently, we have 5,000 in there. Must have been from last year. We do this every year.
There's 4,000 in it right now.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. Revaluation.
How much did we spend last year?
I
Just the
believe
1,000? we have no money?
no, they spent, I think it was right around 6. I can give you that in a minute.
Did a major one. Nine.
Read something. They do like 5,000 a year in it.
It did a good job this last one, I guess. 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's a never-ending battle.
Christine,
Hmm?
you're going to make a motion to approve it?
I'm calculating figures here.
So I motion to approve Article 10.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, Article 11, Recycling Revolving Fund for Highway Equipment Purchases.
Yeah.
New one, they're just establishing a place to put
To
the
see if the town
There's a highway.
will vote to establish a revolving fund pursuant to RSA 31:95-H for the purpose of paying for highway equipment with recycling revenues, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $1 to be deposited into that fund. All revenues from recycling generated at the transfer station will be deposited into the fund, and the money in the fund shall be allowed to accumulate from year to year, and shall not be considered part of the town's general fund balance.
Line.
Money in the revolving fund may be used towards the purchase of highway equipment. Further, to name the selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the governing body, and no further approval is required by the legislative body to expend. Such funds may be expended only for the purpose for which the fund was created. This article is recommended by the selectmen.
So the plan here is that where we need $60,000 a year for the highway equipment plan for the 10-year plan, that as we have recycling revenues, we'll be able to review that at the end of the year. So if we have $20,000 in recycling revenues that are in the fund, then we would change the warrant article for highway equipment purchases to be $40,000 and take the 40,000, take the 20,000 to add it to that 40 to get to our 60. So as monies accumulate in that fund, we'll be able to hopefully lower the burden for taxpayers raising and appropriating funds by lowering the highway equipment purchase or the highway equipment capital reserve fund amount on an annual basis.
So this is the revenue from us recycling
That's correct. Yep.
cardboard and all that stuff is supposed
Cardboard, any items that we send to NRA, things from our, metals, any other things that we collect at the transfer station would be
so
considered recycling.
so this would be the revenue after the expenses.
No,
Yes,
this is
net.
this is not the net revenue. This
Okay.
is the gross revenue.
Okay.
We just need to let every taxpayer in town know that they can help by recycling.
Right.
Yeah, so if we could get a blurb out there. But
And then it's going to be restricted to only highway equipment and not be used wherever they like to use it.
That's correct. Yep. And the idea would be to defray that other capital reserve amount so that as on an annual basis, as you know what you've collected in recycling revenues, you can reduce that other warrant article by that amount.
And it doesn't go back into the general fund.
No.
You get to carry it over.
So the cost of recycling, though, is coming out of the highway department's budget,
Yes.
That's correct.
meaning when they get the balers or equipment, all of that, we're still paying for those expenses. This is just the revenues all going in here to reduce Article 6, hopefully.
Correct.
The baler was a grant.
Okay.
We didn't pay for that. We paid for the 220 line coming into Public Works to help run that.
Or the
We
three-phase.
paid for electricity. We're gonna be paying for a guy to man that station for what, 8 hours a week, Shane? Hey, Shane, how many hours do you put into the recycling?
Man hours.
Man hours.
A week?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're open 10 hours a week. On Thursdays, Mondays, we do baling, which takes a couple hours to bale all the cardboard so that it's empty for the next day, next time we're open. So
10 hours a week.
10 hours a week we're open. Then on the off days, we spend a couple hours in the morning baling all the cardboard and or aluminum cans or whatever. So maybe 14, 15 hours a week is
Have you filled that position yet?
no. Yeah, with the part timer? Yeah, not yet.
So all the baled cardboard stays in that building that's there where I think I saw the pile of cardboard one time. So
Yeah. Yeah, no. Up in the back, we have one of those big storage
oh, like a trailer.
units,
Okay,
trailer
yeah.
type, and we just store them in there because I want to say we need 20,000 pounds before they'll come pick them up, and I figured it was about 75 to 80 bales.
How much?
cardboard.
How many times do they come? Like a month to pick up?
They
Do
don't.
we,
When they
We haven't had to
fill
pick
the
up yet.
but
trailer.
we haven't even filled it once.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's kind of a new,
That's bad.
Yeah, it's
that's why you need to
yeah.
get the word out that,
Getting established.
Okay.
that we can save everybody money if you want to drive by and drop off your cardboard.
Killer is Walmart probably pays to get rid of the cardboard.
I
now.
use my cardboard, so I'm not
Really?
recycling it.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
imagine.
Takes a while to fill the trailer.
Walmart sells
From my garden.
So
Do they
does
sell it?
Tanger. Yeah.
Okay, they sell
They
it.
have their own balers and their own setup with
Okay.
So
whoever to sell their cardboard.
I make a motion to approve Article 11. It's getting late.
Second.
It's getting late. I'm proud of you.
Did
I
Christine
motion, she
second?
said
Yes,
she
she did.
actually
Okay,
did.
any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Look at that.
Okay.
It gets
All
warmer on
right.
the last one.
Article
Okay.
12 is a modify
busy
elderly
about the budget,
exemption. Shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 72:39-A for elderly exemption from property tax in the town of Tilton based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as follows. For a person 65 years of age up to 75 years, $65,000. For a person 75 years of age up to 80 years, $95,000. For a person 80 years of age or older, $140,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $28,000, or if married, a combined net income of not more than $40,000, and own net assets not more than $70,000, excluding the value of the person's residence.
Oh, Tim, can I ask a question? What did you change this from? Did you change just the amount of the exemption, or did you change the income as well?
So both were changed.
Okay.
So essentially the first three amounts were increased by $15,000, and I would have to look up. Do you recall off the top of your head?
I think it was 2,000
I
for the
think,
single,
Um,
6,000 originally.
I think it was 26 and 34,000
Sounds right.
Yeah, yes, it was.
for the
Originally.
income limits, and the asset has not changed. The amount of the assets.
So
And
oh, sorry.
I was just going to say the the Board of Selectmen had studied the data from Belknap County and all the other towns, and this kind of puts us, roughly speaking, right in the center of all the other towns, pretty much. What the other towns are doing in terms for elderly exemptions. And what we saw this year, the elderly in particular got really hit with the increases. And some people were $200 over the limit in terms of income and didn't qualify for their elderly exemption. And where they paid little to no tax the prior year, they were getting a big tax bill.
Right.
And we've seen a slurry of abatements come in regarding this that the board's currently considering.
So I just know from experience that when your assessments take a hit and they go up, the elderly folks get hit really hard the first year. So it's important to do this to bring them more in line.
Absolutely.
I know my folks have one, they're in Northfield and they get the elderly because they're over 80. And it makes a big difference about keeping them in their house. I mean, they've been there 65 years, but it makes it more affordable for them to stay in their house at that age.
Are vehicles included in the assets?
Yes.
So, I mean, you can't even have 2 decent cars. And
Well, it depends on what I mean, if they're 10 years old and the value you give them, I mean,
The income is not very high. It's really based for people on Social Security to be able to stay in their home.
Right.
That's
right.
really what it's about.
Is this a regular thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Towns have them?
Oh, right.
Always
They-
has
they
been.
had this for years.
The only
Varying amount.
the important part is for the towns to stay up on it when they have a huge change in their assessment,
Mhm.
because that's the year that the elderly people get whacked.
Yeah.
I mean, their taxes will go up $800 to $1,000 in the interim year between a new exemption amount being adopted, but you can only do it at town meeting. So there's like a year, always like a
Mhm.
layover year.
Mhm.
It's tough,
Mr.
but that's why
Chairman,
they do abatements.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're upwards of 40 now abatements. Um, because of this, a great deal of elderly, especially those in mobile homes in parks, saw a dramatic increase because that, according to the market, is the most affordable
Mhm.
place, or it's, as I say when I give my talks quite regularly on this issue, is that is the only affordable housing that people can afford. And um, it as this gentleman alluded to earlier, commercial property taxes came down in this market,
Mhm.
in this eval, but mobile homes and many, as Deb said, many were a couple of $100 over their allowed exemption. So they get hit with some had, one lady I recall had said she hadn't paid property taxes in 20 years. Then she got an $1,100 one first 6 months tax bill. So it's going to be $2,200.
Wow.
She lives on $13,400 a year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Question on, it's going up 2,000 on single and I think you said 4,000 on the 40,000. How many more residents about for the elderly is this going to have help, like percentage wise or a roundabout number?
So in terms of the income limits, we really have no idea because obviously we don't know what people's incomes are. However, the people that have been receiving the elderly exemption based on the value, we do know approximately that's going to be a cost of about $5,000.
And do you count net income on Social Security or because they get cost of living, but the insurance went up? Does it go by net
Correct.
and not gross?
Correct.
Okay.
So will you do something to let people know about this if it gets adopted at town meeting?
Oh, yes. In fact, we've had the chair of the Board of Selectmen and myself have been to multiple places. I was at the senior center yesterday giving a discussion or a talk to the senior group, that luncheon that was there. And we've got it on our website. We've got it. We discuss it every time somebody comes in. We have, as we did the road show, I call it, we strongly encourage people to come to town meeting to support this because it's going to be important. And a lot of them, or most of them, know that how crucial it is that we get this passed.
So I motion we approve Article 12.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Second that one?
All right.
Second that one?
Pardon me?
You did?
Bill did.
I
Oh, yeah.
just wanted to bring something up. I should have listened to our very capable secretary earlier when she brought to my attention that there's a typo on Article 10
Oh.
between the budget and the amount in Article 10. So Article 10 on the warrant paperwork says $5,000. The recommendation on the budget was $6,000, which is what the Board of Selectmen had voted on. And I looked up to see the Conservation Commission had originally sent to the Budget Committee that they had penciled in 5,000 for the warrant, but they upped that to 6,000. So in any event, if you want to reconsider Article 10 for $6,000, that was my mistake in not picking up
that additional amount that they asked for.
5,000 is fine.
Just an amendment.
Or if you, if you care to revote, or if you want to leave it as is.
So motion to reconsider, right?
Yes.
There you go.
You
So
may,
moved.
okay, I'll second. So in that case,
We have to vote on that.
6,000, okay,
No, we're gonna vote, yeah.
okay. So, all those in favor of reconsidering the article, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, then that would say that to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,000
Correct.
to the lake improvement / maintenance capital reserve fund previously established. So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
All right, is there any other public online comments before we close the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say thank you for all your hard work this year.
Thank you for thanking us. Any other comments? Okay, at this time, I think we will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So the only other is the minutes. And I move that we accept the minutes of January 15th.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
I would
you.
like to say, Bill, that I want to thank this gentleman for coming down and sitting through this
Yes.
and being for being here. You
And I-
can see how important it is to everybody else.
And I thank all of you for being here to elucidate the issues and help us understand where the money's going. So, thank you.
After you
Thank
leave, we're going to take out the pizza that we have for ourselves.
Just tell me where I signed up to be. I want to talk about impact fees. So where do I?
Planning board.
Planning board.
Yeah,
But feel free to sign up for more than one.
yeah.
You can be on multiple
Yeah.
Be on more than one.
and get people to town meeting.
Maybe somebody from the school can do
Town
some
meeting is very
spread the
sad.
word flyers for town hall.
So
Right.
can
This is what
can we
it
make a
takes.
motion to adjourn?
Is there any other?
Are there going to be
anything
any other
else?
meetings before? Are you planning any other meetings?
I don't
won't
think
be
we need
here.
a meeting.
I don't think we need
I think we're
anymore.
pretty well
I'm just
prepared
double
for
checking
Like you
before.
guys, but
a town meeting.
Yeah, if we miss something, Tim will find it and he'll let us know.
Okay, so do we want to schedule one for after town meeting for the new people coming
Sure.
in and
Yeah,
all
that would
that?
be
So
good.
when would you like that?
When is town meeting?
Hang on,
March.
get my calendar.
March
If-
3rd.
Second.
I don't know.
Tuesday
15th or
is
something.
technically town meeting.
So we-
Saturday, we always continue to Saturday for the deliberative session.
Right. So then we would, meet in April then?
So you want to meet, so you want to wait till April? So you want to go the first week in April?
Sure.
So April
Yeah,
2nd?
yeah. That sounds good.
Okay.
I won't be here.
You got to do it before the middle of April because I have to go to
I
a
have to be
conference
after
in,
the
of all
15th.
places,
Well,
St.
do you
Louis,
wanna-
Missouri.
you wanna
So
meet-
April 9th?
Would you rather meet the
After
end
the
of
15th for
March?
me,
Right
I
after-
cannot do anything
April
till after
2nd is
that.
fine.
April 16th?
April 2nd?
No, that's too
April
far.
2nd?
I won't be here.
That's all right.
Oh,
We meet
okay.
on a
Where are
Tuesday
you?
just so we can meet on April
Christine,
I
Fool's.
cannot
are you-
come till
are you
after
running?
April 15th.
Are you running?
Well,
You're up this year.
Oh, dang.
what, and
You're not
She already
invited.
told
You're
me
not
first.
invited to the meeting.
would you rather go on the 16th?
He already caught me running.
I'm going to be out of town on the 16th.
Okay, so one of the other are going to be both.
I want to meet on April 1st.
That's a Tuesday.
I think it's appropriate.
April Fools,
Very
I won't
funny.
be here.
Very
When
funny.
is town
April
meeting?
2nd is fine. March. What is
March
it? March what? March 15th?
I gotta put in here, I'll never make it.
I think
Second
it's the 15th.
Saturday.
The 15th.
No, it's not the
No, the
second.
8th is the
It's,
second
uh,
Saturday.
Oh, the second Sunday is 8 this year.
Because the
Yeah,
first
Saturday's
is
the
on a
first.
Saturday.
March 1st is a
Yeah.
Saturday.
Because if it's a
Yeah,
15th,
it's
I
not the second.
cannot go.
So it's the 15th,
It's the 15th.
the 3rd.
15th, yeah.
So we could meet
Ah.
we could meet the
Do you want to meet
26th.
March 26th
Why?
instead?
Yeah, sure,
26th?
let's meet March 26th.
Is it already published for the 15th?
I'd have to look.
It is. I heard that it was the
We
15th.
I've
cannot
had
do
3
the
late nights this
15th of
week.
a month. That's absolutely
It's like 2
D-Day.
hours of your life.
You don't know what my life is.
Also, we're going to need you to come back when the MS 737 is completed. We'll need you, we'll reach out to have you come in
We
and
can just
sign
swing
that.
in and sign.
Yeah, we won't need a meeting for that. We'll just have you
Town
come in
hall,
and
Just
sign
run
it.
in.
I think Billy should have to bring it to each of our houses so we can sign.
I'll
No,
jog
I have
over.
to come down and put my name.
You can do it right
That
now.
was everything I had.
The board's
All
out.
right,
You can do it right now.
The marker's not
motion
there.
to
I think you have
adjourn.
to still-
Second.
All those favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
I
everybody.
don't think you
Yeah.
can put
Been
your
a
name
great,
on until you
great
fill out
pleasure
the
to
thing.
work with all
Good
of you.
job, Chairman.
There's a thing. And that guy's gonna go down there wanting to put his name on there.
I think Scott went down to help him, so.
Yeah, because you have to fill out a paper.
Planning board is a